It's pretty much a known fact in League of Legends that players back in the day were worse than they are now. Most people agree that, for example, a 2014 Challenger player would probably get hard stuck in Emerald today, but is that actually true? I've heard this take many times. For example, when people wanna flash their credentials saying that they got Challenger many years ago, other people are very quick to dismiss that. And they might be right. After all, the game is constantly evolving, players improving mechanically, and we discover new metas and concepts that we weren't using before. I wanted to find out exactly how big that gap really is. So today we're doing a real coaching breakdown. No pro play, no coordinated team play, but just pure raw solo queue to see if back then we were as bad as people think, or maybe players nowadays are just coping, saying that Emerald isn't that bad. First, we're going to dive into a literal rank 1 match from 2014, and then we're going to compare that to a modern day solo queue player to see the differences. Before we dive in though, there's a couple things you should know about the game we're about to see. I have never reacted to it until now, but I have played back then, so I remember a couple things you should take into account if you are one of what we call the new gens. So first of all, the game looked very ugly, okay? People will say maybe it looked better due to nostalgia, but it simply didn't. Another thing you should know is that this is many patches ago, so a lot of things are different. Mainly, this was before a lot of the durability updates, so everybody's HP and resistances will be lower and they will be easier to kill. And furthermore, the waves and wriggles will be very different. We won't have any home guards, so wriggles will take a lot of time. With that out of the way, let's get into the first game. We're going to dive into this 2013 Season 3 ranked game. This is just when Challenger came out, and this is EOS server. And this was N10, which was the highest rated AD carry in all of EOS back then. This is a high-elo game, and we can tell because there's two SK players. Back then, SK was one of the best teams in Europe. We have Candy Panda, an old name for the OGs who remember, and we have Nif, a support that also played for a couple more years after that. The lane is gonna be Twitch Leona versus Sonovarus. Back then, the game used to start much later than it does now, especially the jungle camps and the wave coming into lane. For that reason, we used to leash. Also, jungle was a bit harder than it is now. So they help with the wolves camp, but they also will help with the blue. I remember this, helping with both. Blue used to have children back then, now he's a single father. So as you can see, the enemy only already arrived, but we didn't. This might cause problems, and I do think with a Leona lane, nowadays you just want to stay in the lane and capture the bushes and not let them take control. Alright, so we are trading level 1 against the Sona. So a couple of things that you will notice here is that the spacing wasn't great back then, so was the target selection and waiting for people to be in position. So I think that nowadays you would see a challenger Twitch maybe wait for the Leona to walk up a bit more, so that both the enemy cannot focus us first, which is what ends up happening. See 2v1 before the Leona interacts. As for focusing the Sona, I think if you're in no danger of dying, that is fine, so you get the kill 140 get out. Sona is more killable than Varus. One thing maybe you guys don't know is that back then everybody was more squishy. As you can see, Twitch is less than 600 health. The Sona champion, before the rework she got when Surfing came out, she was actually the most squishy champion in the game, level 1, meaning the lowest HP. So she has less than 500. However, he should have waited for Leona. Then as you can see, keep focusing the Sona is wrong in the sense that if you are in danger of dying, hitting the Varus here is probably better, especially with old runes. So about why Leona started E and not Q, there's an explanation for that. So back then, Leona Q had way higher cooldown than it does now, if I'm not wrong. As you can see, the cooldown of Q got reduced in Season 9 by 1 second. And then in Season 7, it went down to 6 seconds from the 9 level 1. So in this Leona game that we're watching, actually the Q cooldown is really high, almost 10 seconds, whereas nowadays it would be like 5 at level 1. That's why leveling up either is not that bad. Now, if we compare it to a modern challenger game of Twitch, everything is about lane control. And you might see how in your games people fight over the middle bush by warding both teams in the center bush of the bot lane. And the meta in Challenger has evolved to predict that, and if you have a champion with lethal tempo that can win an extended fight level 1 like a Twitch Lulu here, especially if the enemy is an ADC without barrier like this Kog'Maw, they will just wait behind them in the trade bush and try to catch them when they go to that bush. So this is what we do nowadays, it's all about the level 1. Okay, predicts it. And throws the Either. No doubt start for Kog'Maw because he's AP. But what you will notice here is that both laners are gonna be in the same line. so that both of them can hit at the same time instead of getting 2v1 like the clip that we saw. So this playing in a line and spacing and trading got improved a lot over the years. People didn't do it that well back then. And you can see how we're constantly trying to space the enemy and play for 2v2 trades in which both champions can do that much at the same time.
They place a ward in that rush, you can kill that with Q. You can't kill that with E.
Okay, so Leona got both summoners of the Varus without dying. That is kind of a higher elo gameplay. He's trying to prevent Varus from crashing this wave by being annoying to him, which is really good. Got both summoners of him. If this was modern League of Legends, the correct thing to do with this wave is just to like slowly last hit and build a big wave and finally crush it when the enemy comes to lane. The reason is there's no way that a level 2 Twitch or even level 3 Twitch can push this fast enough before the Varus comes back with modern day home guards. For that reason, if Twitch tried to push this, first of all, Varus wouldn't lose minions, and second of all, he would freeze, and now Twitch is cooked, so he would have for sure one extra component over the Twitch. So in modern League of Legends, the correct thing to do with this wave would be to slow push it, build a big wave, which is harder for the Varus to crash. Also, Varus would lose 3 melees during that, which is good for us. Now, in old League of Legends, people take way longer to come into the lane. So actually the correct thing would be to start pushing this really fast, because we will actually be able to crash this before Varus comes back, as long as the Leona also helps us. The other thing is that we are vulnerable to like a gank angle if we don't crash this fast and we are slow pushing it. So the Twitch is only last hitting without full pushing, and I think that's a mistake for 2013. This is definitely a mistake. And we could have crashed it because Varus takes so long to come to lane. So Twitch is trying to fight, and yeah, we have the jungle in lane with the push that we did. We do end up killing. To be fair, that's a good play by Fiddle also coming through lane like that. I would expect a river gank. But yeah, I definitely think he should have hard pushed this. He stuns the minion. Oh wow.
Oh, he stunned the wrong thing.
Lagging a lot. So the Twitch poison plus red buff ends up killing. One thing that you do notice here is the lack of roaming from Leona. So this wave, Leona can 100% roam mid, because the wave is bouncing to Twitch due to the crash under the tower. So that means Leona has a timer to go mid with Sejuani and open them up through there, putting deep wards in the enemy jungle and or helping the Zed. We have a perfect comparison with modern challenger gameplay. This wave is gonna bounce to the enemy now, because Bard will pull it and make sure that it pushes towards the enemy by holding it a little bit. For that reason, we don't have a support roam timer, so Lulu should go bot lane, and she does. However, later, in the next recall, we have the complete opposite situation. 3 casters are not enough to freeze the wave nowadays with the minion changes, and Lulu's getting an earlier recall than Twitch. So this wave will bounce to Twitch, and Lulu has a roam timer similar to that Leona in the clip. In this roam timer, Lulu should open mid, like I was saying before. So let's see what Lulu does. As you can see down there in the map, Lulu's opening mid because the wave is bouncing to Twitch, so we have a roam timer that we can do that with Twitch being safe, and we don't need to be in bot lane for that timer. So this is a huge difference in support macro between the 2013 and the modern day challenger player. Notice also how Lulu doesn't just help in the fight and kills an enemy, but also puts a ward which controls the map and unlocks the whole mid lane for Aurora. Instead, our Leona is just doing nothing in bot lane. Notice this wave state, it's completely pushing to the Twitch, so that's why the Lulu had that roam timer. Notice that this wave is bouncing and Leona, see how it's bigger on the enemy team? And Leona is useless in the bush, just sitting doing nothing, right? So this is something you definitely don't want to do if you're Leona. She should have opened mid and deep board the enemy jungle. If the wave is bouncing like that, all Leona and Twitch have to do is wait in the behind bush, and we just engage or freeze it, and they will have to like be doomed. So definitely the wave management and the macro I'm noticing is really behind compared to nowadays. This engage is also bad because Varus has flash now. And Varus is about to hit 6 or is already 6. I can't tell because of the quality, but I think he's 6 already. Apart from that, it's like also... I would say it's also like bad mechanics from both of them, getting in tower range with Varus hitting. So the Twitch doesn't need to get this close at all. Like he's in tower range here. Bad flash, already dead. Yeah, was already dead. Emerald level engage, I would say. Or even platinum, I would say. Also, by the way, if they just waited until the wave was closer to him, Twitch would have ult. Okay, positioning to dodge the Sona ult. I like that. Oof. The auto attack mechanics were really rough there. The mana was rough back then too. Notice that everybody's mana cost is just constantly out of mana. Mana was a real thing back then, you know? You used to run out of mana. See, the field sticks out of mana as well. Like, yeah, mana was an actual thing back then, guys. So going bot lane here, definitely an interesting macro choice. I would imagine we open mid and make solo laner go bot. And I think this is something that AD carries didn't do properly back then. We didn't know about this as well as we do now. Just notice that this was minute 12 to 13. Twitch opened bot even though he took the tower already. Now, in the modern challenger game, we have minute 12, almost 13, same exact thing. And Twitch hasn't even taken the tower yet, but I want you to notice how he will open mid immediately now. And Lulu will as well. You gotta unlock yourselves on the map when you're this ahead. The farther ahead you are, the earlier you wanna unlock yourself out of the bot lane as ADC. The farther behind you are, the more that you wanna like delay the moving to mid lane a little bit longer. I want you to notice that immediately upon opening up mid lane, we can use our Blade of the Ruin King power spike, which was the whole point of going mid lane here and opening mid lane. Because we can't use the power spike that well in bot lane. And let's see if going mid lane with the power spike is useful. Flash, the Embezzled, the kiting and auto attack mechanics are just better than... Actually, he did cancel auto, but they're better definitely than the 2013 replay. I like this channel a lot, how it zooms out and all that. It's really impressive channel. I will put it in the description and recommend it. But yeah, look at this. We kill a bunch of players of the enemy team immediately upon opening up mid lane due to the lead that we had, right? Definitely going bot lane here is a big mistake. For sure we want to open Twitch to the mid lane of the map. For sure we don't want to be bot lane here. This is bad macro, for sure. Even back then, this is bad. That flash forward Twitch, I think he tried to flash forward and use the active of the Blade of the Ruin King to slow. Back then, Blade of the Ruin King had an active that can slow. I think this is definitely low elo game. This was below Emerald for sure. This whole interaction was, I would say, like gold to silver level. So basically, first of all, we shouldn't even be bot, okay? That's first. Because we're not working towards ending the game here. The mid Prio unlocks them up. Second of all, like this flash here is just so unnecessary, right? Like, even if it would kill this flash, I wouldn't do it because this helps nothing to end the game. Like, we just want to go mid, like open tier 2 mid, then tier 2 top, then tier 3 mid. And then we're flashing like this when Evelynn and Field 6 are coming, if you see on the map like that. So definitely this is like too deep. And it's just like a low elo chase for sure. This is a low elo chase for sure. Walking into Sona ult also, which is so she's gonna cast. The way a challenger Twitch would play this now, you would space back the Sona ult and press Q in 2 seconds and then re-engage the fight with Q so that Evelynn and Fiddlesticks are not catching us from above. So definitely this is just low elo gameplay. This is one of those reasons why like you wouldn't go bot anyway, like... Yeah, both macro and mechanics were bad here in this fight. And keeps going bot, this is quite insane to me, keeps going bot and keeps going bot. There's nothing in bot, bro. 2 towers count, there's nothing in bot. You gotta unlock yourself on the map. Also, you're kidnapping your Leona, forcing her to be with you, and she can't be with the rest of the team. But she has to like hover you, because you can get killed by an Evelynn or Field 6 ult, so... If we go back to our challenger replay, you will notice that basically we won't see the Twitch going back to bot lane almost the whole game. So mid lane here for dead, and again we go mid lane. And it's just always mid lane into objective, into mid lane again, into objective or fight, into mid lane again. And yeah, he will keep going mid lane like this. And this is the correct macro for an ADC. I know that back in the day we didn't have as many important objectives as we do now, such as Dragon Solo and whatnot. But it's not just about the prio for objectives, it's also about the safety of ADC. Mid lane is the safest lane in the game. And by staying mid lane, you allow your teammates to not have to hover you all the time. Other than that, notice how much cleaner the auto attack mechanics, dodging and spacing is. We're gliding in every auto, and we're trying to space out and target selection better, as well as predict what the enemy will use on us. Even there, we flashed the Ambessa Q that we didn't react to it. He just flashed by prediction. Walking like this, for me, is criminal. I know he's pressing Q, but he didn't have Q until now. We have no vision and Field 6 could be jumping on us. This is a bit criminal to me, walking like this. I would be afraid of like a Field 6 ult if I walk there. Yeah. 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 So we can predict that, right? Like, this is just really bad positioning. One thing that challenger players do, that lower elo players do very bad, is just predicting what the enemy will do and seeing the game from the point of view of the enemy, right? So, especially in AD carry, because you are gonna be focused first than anybody else in the team usually, having the mindset of like, okay, if I was the enemy, where should I be ulting and what angle and what timing? If I'm Twitch here, I will be so scared of the field sticks ult. So I feel like definitely this will get punished hard in Challenger nowadays with so many more assassins than before, so much more threat in the game than before. And you know, when people, I've been thinking about this, that when people say that games were longer back then, it is because Riot didn't give us as many tools to end the game as they do now, right? We had no Soul and Elder and Baron buff buffing waves like we do now. Baron buff gave you a buff to yourself, but not to the minions. But it's also that people didn't know how to close out games because they were doing these bad macro plays instead of focusing on, okay, rotating mid lane and looking all the towers. Like, I feel like with this lead that we had on Twitch earlier, mid lane towers would have fell faster, the vision on the map would have been controlled faster by Leona, and that would unlock the map to push towards a victory. Notice that the Twitch has been walking around the map doing nothing other than just looking for Q kills without pushing waves and getting private lanes. Notice something though, off of this fight, even if we did, let's say that we aced the enemy team in this fight, because we were wasting time topside jungle instead of getting mid prio before this fight, even if we did win this fight, we wouldn't have gotten anything from it, other than gold, because the wave is not pushed. And by the time we push it, enemy spawn and defense. Another reason why the games last so long back then. Oh my god, what a Sejuani ult. He's literally standing still hitting. What is this? This is gold or silver or bronze. He's standing still hitting. Glide, boy, glide. What the hell? Oh my. Okay, I don't know if I even need to explain this one, but you're supposed to click forward when you're hitting between every auto, or backwards, whichever way you need to space in that moment, kite, glide, however you wanna call it. Oh my. The fact that this fight started so well with a Sejuani ult that connected on 3 people and then we just don't do shit with it. Oh my. Sona ult is gone, PL6 ult is gone, so we can definitely click forward and click these people in the back with a Twitch ult. 100% we can. Oh my. Get that boy a pair of skates and make him glide. That was a very rough game. Now that we reached the end of the video, it's time to answer our first question. Would a challenger player from 2013 get hard stuck in Emerald nowadays? Well, yes and no. I don't think that's quite the right conclusion to this. It's easy to look at back then and see how many things they didn't see. But in reality, we just have been building more than 15 years of knowledge. I do think if you put a player from back then in a time travel capsule to now, they won't know enough wave management and mechanics, or even macro, let alone the changes of meta of course, to even compete in Emerald. But as many mistakes that they did back then, I did notice that their mentality was similar to the mentality of a challenger player nowadays. I do think a challenger from 2013 would get stuck nowadays, but I also think in a couple months they would at least get master. Since being at the top of a ladder, whether it's in the past or nowadays, requires a certain mentality that lower elo players simply don't have. To get serious for a second, it reminds me of a quote. The ancients had only the books which they themselves wrote, but we have all their books, and moreover all those which have been written from the beginning until our time. Hence, we are like a dwarf perched on the shoulders of a giant. The former sees farther than the giant, not because of his own stature, but because of the stature of his bearer. Similarly, we see more than the ancients, because our writings, modest as they are added to their great works.